Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of The Bullet. My name is Paul Lathrop. I'm the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation. Joining me today from southern Louisiana, Rob Morse, Self-Defense Gun Stories, Slow Facts Blog, and many, many other places on the internet you can pick up Rob's stuff. Also, by the way, Self-Defense Gun Stories, the podcast that has grown so much that it blows right now every other podcast I'm involved with out of the water, including the Polite Society podcast. Rob, thanks for coming on the board, man.
My pleasure. What you said is technically true, maybe. Anyway, thank you for being generous.
At least in the rankings, it is absolutely true.
Right.
Well, let's get started with saying, if you want to, we're going to have, this is going to be, kind of a one-topic show today. We technically have two stories, but it's really all going to be today, all Hunter Biden, all the time. Rob, I've got some, I don't even think we really need to read a lot aloud off of show notes. If anybody is involved in the gun world, they know that today Hunter Biden accepted a plea deal for tax evasion. Let me repeat that. For tax evasion. The gun charges have been he's been put into a diversion program where, this is my understanding, Rob, and correct me if I'm wrong here, this is a lot like traffic school, where you just do this and then it goes away and you never did 65 miles an hour in a 45. Have I got that right?
Yes and no. You never were accused of bribing, of taking huge bribes from foreign companies, ciphering 10% off for the big guy, and failing to claim that on your taxes, like the crimes that sent Al Capone to jail. Oh no, that never happened. Here, take a plea deal.
Yeah,
and what's beyond egregious about this is the sanctimonious nature of the Biden administration saying the most honest administration in history. Oh, stop it.
Yeah.
We're really concerned about criminals getting drugs, and we demand that FFLs file every scruple of the law, unless you're Joe Biden's son, in which case what crime? I'm sorry, did you say? Oh, did you hear that?
Yeah. Well, there was a Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms press release today, and I want to get one quote out of it. Why should anybody respect any gun laws if the president's son gets a pass? The American public should be outraged at what amounts to a deplorable double standard. It is important to note that none of the gun prohibition lobbying groups have uttered a word of condemnation. This fact alone shows what hypocrites they are, and what a hypocrite Joe Biden is. Their silence is deafening. That from both the Citizens Committee and the leader for SAF, Alan Gottlieb. This is absolutely... Rob, I want to...
Wait, Paul, I know you had a brain injury a year ago.
2.
Aren't I... Correct me if I've got this mixed up. I don't want to do a Google search right now. Aren't we going to shoot our lung out with a 9mm? That's right? That's
they're the lung blower outers. Absolutely.
Right, except isn't that what the Bidens threw into the trash?
Yes.
And then said, by the way, oh yeah, I'm not a druggie. I don't have any outstanding criminal violations either. Sure, give me a gun. If you
Outstanding.
And I did their shenanigans, what would happen?
Yeah. Well, I want to turn that question even just a little bit, Rob.
Okay.
What if it wasn't Hunter Biden? What if it was, say, Hunter Trump Hunter DeSantis.
Oh, yes. Right. Yeah, DOG'd be all over the guy like white on rice.
He'd be under the jail.
Yes. Yes. Well, okay. So what this says is, it's not the United States of America. It's the Banana Republic of America. The Department of Justice and the media, rather than being outraged, they're a wholly owned subsidiary of the administration. Okay, we've got Banana Republic Justice and Banana Republic Press. That's frightening. Thank God. I'm going to turn around. Thank God for alternative media.
That's exactly where I was going to go.
Okay, please do, because you're going to do it better.
I don't know that I'm going to do it better. I was just watching, and we're talking legacy media here a few seconds ago. A big star in legacy media a few months ago was Tucker Carlson. Fox News decided they didn't want Tucker around anymore. He was hitting too close and kicked him loose. He went to Twitter, where his viewership exploded over what he was getting at Fox News. He's now getting around 7 million per video. Fox News getting 7 million was their dream. Now they can just go over to Twitter and see it happen. He was just on a little bit ago. Matter of fact, as you were signing on, I was just closing that window. He has a great take on today, on the events of today. And I would encourage everybody, go if you haven't followed Tucker Carlson, go to Twitter. It won't bite, I promise you. Go to Twitter, just look up Tucker Carlson's video that he released earlier today. Great video, and he's well brought up. You know, this is a man who not only evaded tax charges, not only evaded federal felony gun charges, he's also selling copies of his paintings for $50, and not the original painting, just a photo, basically a photocopy of the printing of the painting for $75,000 a pop, and most of those are going to politicians in foreign governments. What does that say, man?
That says that the going rate to get a sweetheart deal from the U.S. government is about $70K. And I think we recently had, again, thank God for James O'Keefe, he was talking to, is Blackwater the investment firm?
Blackwater. I would have to do a Google search, man.
I'm getting the security firm and the investment firm. I may have transposed them. Okay, listeners, straighten me out on that. They said, "Oh yeah, I can buy a senator for $10K," and I went, "Wow, price of senators is down these days."
Yeah, that reminds me of the old meme that goes around on Facebook every once in a while. They should make senators and congressmen wear uniforms like NASCAR drivers so we can see who paid for them.
Right.
And I just did do a Google search, and Blackwater is a private military company. So, yeah, I'm looking at their webpage right now. The Silent Professionals. BlackRock, okay.
BlackRock is the investment firm, right? This is so disappointing. Now, did I expect anything different? No, but I had hopes, and I had hopes that more Republicans would call it out. So why would Republicans not call it out? Either they're afraid, or they're corrupt and getting sweetheart deals. Why Democrats wouldn't call it out? Repeat. Same answer.
Yeah, I'm thinking that this is one of those cases where you'd better keep your mouth shut, or the next investigation's going to be on your campaign finance.
on your doorstep, right?
Yeah.
But do you remember that the FBI came in and stole all of Project Veritas's records? Because is it Haley Biden? She left one of her diaries behind when she was in drug treatment, and somebody mailed it to Project Veritas, and Project Veritas tried to give it back, but they wouldn't accept it because they said if we accept it, that means we're confirming that it was real. So yeah, just like the Hunter Biden laptop.
Yeah. I have seen a lot of the contents of the Hunter Biden laptop. I'm not going to say from where because I do not want to get this person involved in a federal.
You don't want to, right? You don't want to see FBI agents on anyone's door.
Yeah, I've seen, and I'll say this: members of the general public, you've not seen the worst of Hunter Biden's laptop.
Okay, so what you just told me, are there things that are so disgusting, defamatory, that if we showed them, we would get charged with pornography? And you go, wow, okay, it can't be That was it. You know, I heard an interesting phrase. If I can't describe to you the books that are being banned in the library on the news, because I can't say those things on the public news, maybe you then know why they're being banned for kids in the library. Same sort of idea, I'm afraid.
There are numerous laws against not just pornography laws against what is shown in video. Anyway,
do you have any comments?
George Geller commented here a few seconds ago. He wanted to confirm that you were right. Black Rock.
Oh, thank you, George.
So, yeah, and I want anybody else who wants to comment. If you're watching live on Facebook or YouTube, you can comment on the Polite Society podcast feeds. If you're watching us anywhere else, go to YouTube, look up Polite Society podcast, comment on that video. We'll get those right away. We will get them on the air. You can comment anywhere. Sometimes I get those comments, sometimes I don't.
We had another story. It's one of those contrast stories. Can we talk about that out of Virginia?
You know what? My brain and mouth aren't engaged so well right at this moment. You want to read that press release?
I'd be glad to. This came out of a U.S. Attorney's Office, the Eastern District of Virginia. A Newport News woman pleaded guilty today to illegally obtaining and possessing a firearm and making a false statement on a BATF-E form to purchase that firearm. Jessica D. Abner, U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District, gave this in a prepared statement, and I quote, "It's clear from this case that enforcement of our existing federal firearms laws is critical to ensuring public safety. Federal requirements for firearms ownership are not optional. They exist to protect owners and their family members and the communities. Failing to abide by these requirements when purchasing or possessing can have far-reaching legal and criminal consequences. The safety of our communities is one of my utmost concerns. I want to be clear that anyone who is an unlawful user or addicted to controlled substances such as marijuana, cocaine, etc., are prohibited from possessing firearms and ammunition under federal law. The ATF, Washington Special Agent in charge, then a different one said, ATF will continue to collaborate with our local, state, and federal partners to ensure that people who violate the conditions of firearm ownership are held accountable. Why did this case come up? According to Hank, this is the mom of the 6-year-old who took a gun to his first grade class and shot his teacher.
Non-fatally.
Thank goodness, right?
Yes.
But so she goes, where the heck did this gun come from? Why was this child not supervised, properly parented?
Yeah.
So federal agents then go look at home and they say, whoa, narcotics paraphernalia, marijuana, ammunition. Uh, um, that's at the mom's home. Then they go to the grandmother's home. We've got more marijuana, more edible packaging, more marijuana paraphernalia, lots of text messages to drug dealers. Yeah, a lockbox was not found in either of the residents.
But there was a trigger lock
A trigger
found.
lock at mom's place.
Yes.
Um, Also, mom had prior arrests for having marijuana, oxycodone, and crack in the car. So she's got a drug problem. She may be a minor dealer. She's at least an addict, and she lied on the 4473. But she's not Joe Biden's child.
That's right.
So she's going
And
to get arrested, and Hunter's going to walk.
yeah. Now, I want to put this up on screen. I captured a. It's in show notes. The picture of it's in show notes, but I want to put it on screen here as well. From the Department of Justice website. This is the absent approval of the Office of the Deputy Attorney General. Any pretrial diversion program, which is what Hunter Biden is getting, created by a U.S. Attorney's Office, shall exclude any individual who is, and I'm going to skip down to number 3, accused of an offense involving brandishing or use of a firearm or other deadly weapon. So if a firearm's involved, you are not supposed to get a diversion program, according to the Department of Justice website.
Well, okay, did the mom brandish? No.
No, but and neither, and honestly, let's be fair, neither did Hunter Biden.
Right. So if we're sticklers for detail, that need not apply. Perhaps at the minimalist charges that he faced, maybe he's eligible for diversion.
Yeah. Yes. Again, Hunter DeSantis or Hunter Trump would not be.
Not. No.
And that's my major.
We'd have to make an example out of them.
Yeah.
So the equivalent is, no, those documents were securely stored in my convertible, which is different than being securely stored in a safe at the Trump estate in Florida. Okay, yeah. Where do we bring the bananas in a banana republic?
Yes. Let's get this one in. George says she was a presumably legal but irresponsible gun owner. I think that is fair to say.
George, why? In the sense that she's looks for all the world like she's an addict.
Well, you and I, Rob, well, I'm going to speak for Paul. I'm not going to speak for Rob. I'm not speaking for the SAF. I'm not speaking for anybody but me personally. Why is marijuana, why can you not own a firearm if you partake in marijuana, but you can if you go down and drink 5 Long Island iced teas?
Okay. I get that. In this case, it's the oxycodone and the cocaine that are making me stand up and go, oh my godness.
Yeah.
But let's be fair. There are people who are drunks who shouldn't have guns, even though being drunk is legal. They're alcohol addicts. We call them alcoholics. Mm-hmm. There are people who are addicted to things that you and I might be able to tolerate recreationally. None of that stuff interests me. I don't do it. It's just, but I would presume somewhere on the planet there's somebody that can use cocaine and meth recreationally and walk away. But for most people, that doesn't happen. You know lots of addicts. I know lots of addicts. Thank God, for the grace of God, there, but go I. So these are serious problems, and people's behavior when they're in addiction is notoriously poor.
Get a couple comments. The comments are starting to come in really well now. You get a couple of them in. We all know what this is, and it's right in our faces. This is rules for thee and not for me. Um, I want to go back to George.
Thank you, CNG.
George says, all those drugs belong to the 5-year-old.
George,
And
touche, well done, sir.
and also to the supposedly but didn't look like at least 18-year-old hooker that Hunter Biden was with. And
Those girls, he said the pictures that I saw, he's claiming those girls were 18?
Yep. Which avoids child sex charges.
Oh my. Well, okay. Maybe he was overseas. Those were not 18-year-old girls. Anyway. The media will push the cover narrative that Hunter is being punished, and the people that support all this gun control will believe that, yeah. CNT, you're... hey, CNT, what are you doing in the evenings around 6? Can you come to a studio? And if I'm busy, we got a gig for you.
You know what? You got to have access. You got to have access to really good quality internet, and you got to have. Well, Rob and I both have faces for radio, so I mean you're in there. Let's shift gears just a little bit. I got one more story that's not Hunter Biden directly.
Oh. Okay. Darn.
Attorneys representing the Second Amendment Foundation and its partners in a lawsuit challenging the Illinois ban on so-called assault weapons have filed a responsive brief to the state's appeal in the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals. U.S. District Judge Stephen McGlynn in the Southern District of Illinois granted a preliminary injunction against enforcement of that state's ban on so-called assault weapons and high-capacity magazines in April. The case is known as Harrell versus Raoul. Joining the SAF in this case are the Illinois State Rifle Association, Firearms Policy Coalition, Marengo Guns, C4, the gun store, and Dane Harrell, for whom the case is known. The first one is a quote by Alan Gottlieb. Our case has been consolidated with other cases challenging the ban. This lawsuit against Illinois' so-called assault weapons ban is one of 8 Second Amendment Foundation legal challenges against unconstitutional semi-automatic gun ban laws across the country. And in this particular case, Illinois seems determined to convince the court that the guns included in the ban do not fall within the definition of Second Amendment protected arms, when clearly they do. The state's arguments would seem to suggest the court should ignore Supreme Court doctrine set down in last year's Bruin case. The state would have the court believe these so-called assault weapons are something relatively new, despite the fact that such firearms and their magazines have been around for generations, and the technology has been around for more than a century. In his ruling, Judge McGlynn clearly observed that a constitutional right is at stake. Some plaintiffs cannot purchase their firearm of choice, nor can they exercise their right to self-defense in the manner they choose. They are bound by the state's limitations. And then one more quote from Gottlieb. There is no wiggle room in Judge McGlynn's remark. The ban is an affront to constitutional rights and should be nullified. Rob, this is moving quickly. The ban was signed in January. Here we are in June, and it's already been through one federal level of justice. Now it's before the Seventh Circuit. This is moving kind of quick. What's your thoughts, bud?
I would encourage that if you like this 2A geekery, go listen to Professor Mark Smith on YouTube. 4 Boxes Diner. And in this case, in the gun ban cases, we're going all the way back to Heller. Heller was a gun ban case. So although Bruin reaffirmed the methodology, it's really Heller that we're talking about. Are these firearms in common use? Yes. Done. Done. That's it. You can then now it's the state's burden to say, oh, these guns are of a type that they were restricted. Nope. That never appears. never appears. Are they in common use, lawful purposes, ordinary citizens, by the millions all over? Now, one thing has bothered me about that. Well, there are various sneaky legal proceedings that you could do, in the sense that you could say, yes, but we want to restrict. You can't have a 30-round magazine. It's got to be 29. You know, and I'm just I don't know where that law gets drawn. And once you do 29, can you do 28? Can they nibble us away at the margins, or will a court see it as a bright red line that says, no, actually, you could put a 1,000,000-round magazine on there if you wanted to lug around all that ammo, because there's the firearm itself is in common use.
I'm going to say this. My honest belief, Rob, and I hope you agree with me on this, is within the next, I'm going to say 20 years, the 1934 National Firearms Act and everything thereafter pretty much goes away. We may have some vestiges of you're not allowed to carry in a government building. You're not allowed to carry in a courthouse. But I think, honestly, almost everything else, because of the Bruin decision, is going to go away.
I wish, but my fear is it will take us 2 decades, because there are still government attorneys, New Jersey being the ugliest case in point, who would say, yeah, you know what, zoos are sensitive places, so are playgrounds. By the way, so are wildlife preserves. And when you go back to the original laws, the reason they said you can't take guns into wildlife preserves was to prevent poaching. We don't see people who conceal carry poach zoo animals. So they're a bunch of lying government lawyers that we're still going to have to fight in court.
Yeah, I was reading a article today off of, and I don't have it in front of me, my apologies, off of Ammo Land, where there is a former resident of Arizona, about 35 miles north of Phoenix, who wishes that he would have broken the rules because a bear got him.
Oh my gosh!
And it took a rifle round to take the bear down. So and former resident, because he's no longer among us.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, there was a Rutgers student who was out just walking in a park. Goes, oh, a bear, let me take a picture of it. It's the last photograph on the guy's phone, because the bear goes, ooh,
snack.
Nice and crunchy, nice and chewy on the inside, crunchy on the outside.
Yeah. Let me get this in from CNT. The court in Illinois is calling ARs highly dangerous arms.
Right.
You know what? Let's go back to the 9mm lung blower outer. Guns are dangerous. That's why we carry them.
Well, you do understand. Wow. Ashley Hablinski, call your office. The reason we chose the AR style firearm is we found out that if we wounded somebody, we got more people off the battlefield than if we killed them.
Well, because one has to carry the other one off the battlefield.
I need a couple of guys to transport this guy. So it was pejoratively called the poodle shooter. So is it a military round? It's used in the military. Is it particularly lethal? Not really. Wasn't designed to be.
Well, and let's and we're going to go just a little bit over time here. Let's AR. It's everybody says you say AR, everybody immediately finishes in their head with 15. There are AR-7s, there are AR-10s, both of which are designed for calibers other than the .223. The AR-10, you can get chambered
308
in 308, 338 Lapua. So yeah, it's those rounds are getting closer to what you shoot them, and you hear about, I carry a 45 because I don't want to have to shoot them twice. Well,
that's a main battle rifle.
Yeah,
no doubt.
So you reach out and touch something with a 308. That threat is, if you hit it anywhere center mass, that threat is probably done. So, Rob, we are over our 30 minutes, but I gotta ask you if you want to plug self-defense gun stories and anything else you want to promote today, man.
Why, thank you. That is my podcast, 20 minutes once a week. By the way, he didn't mention it, but I think he's okay with me still being on the show. I co-host with Paul on the Second Amendment Foundation's Polite Society podcast. There are a group of us there. We can't be quiet. We run 90 minutes. I write the Slow Facts blog, 2,100 articles. My writing is picked up at Clash Daily and at OpsLens. Thank you, Paul.
You betcha, man. And Rob, by the way, is the longest running person I have with me on Polite Society. He's been there longer than anybody besides me, and that includes former co-hosts. Nobody has stuck around with me for longer than Rob. We need to get his head checked for that. So that's going to do it for us today. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you, everybody who commented. And straight to C&T Designs and Arms, email me, paul@politicsandguns.com, if you're seriously interested in sitting in a co-host chair every once in a while. That's it for today. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.